Okay, I've been thinking about this video for a really long time, and this is one of the most interesting topics for me. In this video, you will see the true full-blown potential of multiset, and I bet this is going to make you rethink how you use your VPSs. Today, I'm going to show you how to build a fully headless spatial layer for location-based AR platforms, and all you need is our APIs. If you don't already know about the headless architecture, don't worry about it. I'm going to cover that in a minute. So on our Discord server, we have a lot of amazing community members who have been asking a lot of questions about the API suite and what all things that they can build with it. So this video is for all the awesome developers who want to go a step further, who want to go beyond Unity and build platform agnostic integrations. So I'm talking about iOS native, Android native, WebXR, 8th world style experiences, smart glasses, or if you are really ambitious, even robot. You can go beyond the limits of the standard SDK. Think about the power in that. Like right now, you're not just consuming localization results, you are architecting the entire spatial backend. You control the camera pipeline, the space composition, the search behavior, the localization input, every single bit. It boils down to three things: camera, compute, and connectivity. I repeat, camera, compute, and connectivity. If you have these three things, you have a spatial platform. That's all you need with multiset. So the best way to show is to build. So in the next few minutes, we are going to build a complete AR editing platform with just our APIs. Firstly, we are going to build a mapper app that is going to help us scan. Then we are going to take that scan map and build an AR scene on top of it. And then using REST APIs and WebXR, we are going to localize that AR scene. Let's get started. Before jumping onto the tutorial, I want to talk a bit about how this video is designed. This video is a tutorial, but it is also much more than that. I don't want you to just concentrate on the code, but I also want you to start thinking about architecture and design and how you can use our APIs to perfectly create a headless spatial layer. So we are all using AI. So what I have done is that I have created this agent orchestration guide, which is an exact step-by-step guide for your agent on how to implement and how to use our APIs. So your agent can worry about code and you can worry about the platform design and how you can set up your architecture for success. Okay, let's start building the mapper app. What we are going to do is we are going to use MultiSet's Unity SDK. And actually, this is one of the most easiest steps in this video. Multiset already have a sample scene called mapping, which is what we are going to use today. Okay, so to get the mapping scene, what we want to do is we have to first get the Unity SDK. So let's click here, go to the Multiset Unity SDK page, and here you will see some prerequisites. We need Unity 6, we need some valid credentials, which we will take a look at in a second. What I want you to do is I want you to scroll down to SDK installation and copy this Git URL that we are just going to use to install the SDK. So let's just copy this for now. Let's go to Unity 6. You go to package manager, and what we want to do is click on this plus icon here and click on install package from Git URL, where we are going to paste our URL and then install. And it's automatically going to do its job. Now you will see that the SDK is installed. What we want to do is we want to go to samples and we want to import this samples. Once the sample scenes are installed, what we want to do is we want to go to the folder and look for the mapping folder. Open this up and then you'll see a mapping scene, which is what you need to build the mapper app. Now, the next step is to set up credentials so that your app can connect to the multiset backend and to your account. So what we are going to do is let's go to the developer portal. So if you don't know where to find it, you have the developer portal button here in your docs.multiset.ai. Now let's go to credentials and let's create new. So I'm just going to call this mapper and we are going to create, and I'm just going to copy and also download this here. Now let me just open this up, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this to my Unity and set this up. So in the Unity scene, in the mapping scene, what we want to do is we want to click on Multiset SDK Manager and click on Open Multiset Configuration. Paste this, place the client ID first, and then paste client secret and verify credentials. And you will see here which says that enter credentials are correct, which means your app is set up to communicate with the multiset backend and your account. Technically, that's all you need to set up a mapper app. And we have designed this mapping scene in such a way that it is very self-contained, and so that you don't need to do a lot of stuff. We understand that a lot of our developers want to embed the mapping process into their own user journey. So you can white label this mapping scene in whatever way you like and in whatever way it fits your user journey. Now that you understand the broader purpose of this mapping scene, let me just quickly show you to a couple of components here which you will find useful. So this whole mapping scene is primarily driven by these two scripts. So we have the mapping manager and the mapping UI controller. So the mapping manager takes care of all the AR session, XR origin, and your camera management. So in case you need access to AR session or any other events related to that, or you need to make sure that the camera works correctly, you should take a look at the mapping manager. And the mapping UI controller is just all our standard UI, and it handles every single thing. So it would be a good idea if you are creating your own custom UI, if you are branding it on your own way, you can just take reference from the mapping UI controller and use it accordingly. What I have now is I have an app which connects to the MultiSet backend, which will help me map and scan my place and environment. And then the map will be uploaded to the MultiSet backend, and then I can use it in my editor. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and build this scene. Now let's get to the meat of the video, which is our REST API docs. So what I'm going to do is go to our docs website, and here you will find REST API docs, and here you will see that it is all properly chaptered into different sections. So authentication, map query, map operations, and stuff like that. So now I'm going to walk you through each and every one of these sections based on the context of the product that we are building. Now let's take a look at this. I'm going to click on authentication. So here you will see we have the whole standard documentation structure. So you have all the APIs and then how to use it. You also have a sandbox here. But what I have built for this particular video is I've made a whole canvas, which is broken down into steps as well as APIs. So I'm going to make it as visual as possible for you to understand what are the exact steps and the way to think about architecting a platform like this, and then how to then use the APIs with it. Okay, so let's look at our very first step. This is actually more of a rule that I would want everybody to follow, and this is like very important. So here you will see the card reads sandbox versus production credentials. So what do I mean by that? So before any API call, here is the boundary that matters. In this demo, we show redacted values, but in production, the MultiSet client secret and the bearer token never reach the browser, right? So the app talks to our backend owns credentials and then calls MultiSet. That is how we should ship this to customers. And this is something that every developer should follow because this is a very important security feature that we have. And the second step is also to just reiterate the same thing, right? So on the server, we load the client ID and the client secret from environment variables or a secrets manager. Together, they identify our integration. The browser never receives these values. We are not asking front-end code or end users to guard a shared secret. This is how you would ensure that your application is secure and then that we are correctly interacting with the MultiSet backend. Now let's take a look at our third card, which is the first API call that we are going to make. Basically, this is called request M2M token. And what this does is this is a machine-to-machine token call. We post to MultiSet's token endpoint with basic authentication built from the client ID and client secret. MultiSet returns a short-lived access token and an expiry time. From here on, map localization calls use this bearer token that you just received from MultiSet. So if you look at on here on the left hand side, this is your URL, and then you have your payload, and this is what you get as a response. So I'm just going to give an example here. So I just sent that, and here you will see this is what I sent. This is what their response looks like. So you're going to get a token, and then you're going to get, let's say, the token length and stuff like that. Okay, now let's look at our final step, which says attach bearer token. So what we are going to do is we just got a response from the MultiSet server and it gave us a token. So we are going to cache the token on the server and attach bearer authentication on every upstream MultiSet request. If multiset returns a 401, we refresh once and retry. This keeps call fast without hitting the token endpoint on every single request. So now that in total, like considering this all the 4 steps, you understood the rule, you understand how to use the token. That's all you need to authenticate any of your app using APIs with the multiset backend. Now that we are done with authentication, let's move to map management. Map management is a 4-step upload story. So what we do is we create, we upload paths, we complete, then we poll until the map is active, plus a few calls we use day to day to list maps and fetch assets. So multiset not just provides you with maps, but it also provides you with other artifacts like the GLB. So if you want to use these things, you can use these set of APIs which fall under map management. So now let's look at the very first step and like one of the first APIs inside map management, and it is called create VPS map. So what basically this does is step 1, we create a map record. Multiset returns the map code, map ID and upload ID, a storage key and pre-signed URLs. We have not uploaded the file yet. We have just reserved a slot and been given the address where each part should go. So if you look at the payload here, you have map name, file size, coordinates, source and provider. So there's like a lot more information here in the REST API docs. And here you will see in terms of the map name and file size and coordinates if you want to put in. You also have source where you are going to assign provider. You can, let's say, upload maps from Unity, Matterport, Leica, Navis. As you know, multiset supports a lot of different maps. So you can scan from whatever is available to you or whatever you think works best for you. And then you can upload that using this particular API call. And then here you will see we get a response of map code, map ID, upload URLs, where to upload, how to upload and everything. And we also, let's look at the second step, which is a put call to upload our file paths. So what we are going to do is step 2, we are going to upload the map file, often a zip or a scan package, directly to the signed URLs. These are plain HTTP puts to storage, not to calls multiset JSON API. Each part returns an E tag and part number we must save for the next step. So if you look at the payload here, you have a zip or E57 file bytes, you have one put per signed URL, and make sure you do not send the put through multiset API. And then here in the response, as I said, you will get an E tag per uploaded part and part number captured for the complete upload. Through this, you can just upload all the artifacts that you have. Now, once we have uploaded and once we have used the put API to upload our file paths, now we tell multiset that, okay, the upload was completed, right? So that's step 3. We tell multiset the multi-part upload is finished. We send the upload ID, the object key, and every part with its E tag and a part number. That closes the loop. Multiset can now process the map, but it's not query ready immediately. So you have to give it some time. It will process, and then you will usually get, let's say, an email that will notify you that your map is ready to use. The step 4 is basically that we poll map status, right? So what we are going to do is step 4, we poll map details using the map code until status is active. Create and upload are not the end. We wait until multiset confirms that the map is ready to query. Once we get the confirmation, then only we can get and use the map and query it and use it in a way that we want. So now this is what exactly the 4 main steps are. Now you have like a couple more steps, which is like list maps, get map details, and then you can create a file download URL. And it does a lot of different things. Like once map exists, we often need a list view which tells us like which maps are live, which are still processing, and what codes to show in UI. This get is the catalog call for pagination. So this is what you will use for all the different things. Now what we are going to do is once we get that, let's say once we have a list, we also need like map details. So for one map code, we fetch full details, status identifiers, and links to meshes and assets. The editor or runtime uses this to confirm right map and to load what we need for visualization. So this is for our example in the editor. What we are going to do is we are going to download this map and then you are going to use that map to show a scene, and then we are going to build a scene on top of it. So this is only for the editor aspect of it. This is not for localization. That is something that we'll cover in a bit. And then we also have this final step, which is let's say where we download the GLB and the mesh. Like when we have a mesh key, we do not want to embed a permanent download link in the client. We exchange the key for a short-lived URL. The heavy asset link expires. The app keeps a stable map code. Okay, so now that you understand what all APIs are available to you in the map management section, now I'll show you how did I use that to build my own editor, right? So here you will see this is my first page, and here is the list of all the maps that is available and that I've previously scanned. So I use the API list maps to get a list of all the maps that are in my account. And here you will see this is the mapper home, which is the map that we just scanned using our mapper app. And here you have a bit more information about it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and click on open an editor. What this is going to do is this is going to call two APIs. So first is get map details, and then is the download URL for my artifacts. So this is the textured GLB that MultiSet just created for me. And then I have automatically downloaded into my AR scene or 3GS scene. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this scene to build my AR application. So that is how it works. It's pretty easy. So I've finally designed my scene. So it's a simple scene, but it's pretty interesting. What I've done here is I have put like a painting up paintings. So there's like one more painting here right next to my actual painting. And then I have put clouds all over my apartment because I always wanted to walk over clouds. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to hit save, and this is going to save information into my personal Superbase table. And then what we are going to do is we are going to see this localize in the browser. Let's look at our final step, which is localization. So we scanned a map, we use that map to build a scene. Now we need to localize it. So we have a set of APIs which are going to help you do exactly the same. Important thing, localization is the runtime path. So what we do is we capture a frame with the right metadata, send it through our proxy, and use MultiSet's pose with confidence to anchor the AR content. So the very first step is what we want to do is we want to capture image plus slam pose. Okay, so the very first step to localization is capturing image plus slam pose. So we capture one sharp frame at the same instance. We capture the local slam pose. Intrinsics must match the encoded JPEG. Often resize so neither side exceeds 1280 pixels. So if the image and the pose are from different movements, localization suffers. For multi-image query, the image data fields are poses captured with each frame, not pointers to stored images. So that is very important. So these are poses captured on and not just like pointers to stored image. We are capturing the camera intrinsics, how and where the device is. So we need to show that, and we need to tell the server that, okay, this is all the data that we have. So if you look at the payload here, you have the image data, which are, and let's say local slam pose at capture time, not stored image references. Then using WebXR, we are going to get the viewer pose. So that's like the reference space, gives us local pose for the frame, and we have a projection matrix. Camera metadata gives you intrinsics, and for the JPEG, the max size should be is 1280. So everything should be less than that, or let's say that's what you can send. And then in response, you'll get a sharp non-blurry frame, and then you will get like a world camera tracking pose. So next step is to prepare the query form, right? So we package the frame as a multi-part data, the image, intrinsics, dimensions, handedness, and the target map code. This is still client preparation, but this is where many integrations fail. If you don't send the right data, you're not going to get the desired localization results. It's not going to be that accurate. So the third step is to know when to query a map and when to query a map set. So if you're using MultiSet, you'll already know that map is a single map and map set is a collection of maps with relative positioning. Map code targets a single VPS map, and map MultiSet code targets a group of maps with relative positioning, but only when the product truly queries a set. For single map, we omit map set code rather than sending an empty string. Hint map code narrows search in a large venue, but it must be a real map code, not a display name. So make sure that you send the real map code. So the next few steps are again a bit of server hygiene so that we know that the multi-set secrets never leaves the server. And then we use the bearer token that we just got from the earlier authentication response, and we use that to query any single thing that we need for localization. Now, once you successfully query and you successfully send the image with the intrinsics, now what multiset is going to do is multiset is going to take that image and then it's going to try and localize that image against your VPS map. And once you do that, you are going to get a response which will have post found. It will tell you if the post was found or not, and then you would get position, rotation, and confidence. Confidence is a good number. It's a number between 0 and 1, and it is the number that tells you if your localization result is worth using. A lot of teams set the floor on 0.7, so anything below that is something that you do not use and you try to relocalize, and anything above 0.7 is a good result, and then you can use that post to localize your AR scene. So we would also recommend that. So let's say if you get a confidence below 0.7, what we would ask you to do is you would want to relocalize again, but don't do it every 10 seconds or like every second, because that would be too aggressive. A healthier option would be relocalizing every 30 or 60 seconds. That way, I think you will be able to manage your localization results correctly. And now that we finally have the right pose and the accepted confidence, what we are going to do is we are going to combine the coordinate frames. So multiset gives us the camera pose in map space, and WebXR gives us the device in world space. Then the app solves for the transform that anchors map content into live session. This is where the API results become AR and the user actually sees it. So that's the way like we set up this whole localization process. It was we got the camera pose with all the intrinsics, the camera image, we packaged it up in the right way, and then we uploaded that to the multiset server using a proxy. Then the multiset VPS server queried that and then localized that against the VPS map. It gave us back confidence and pose, and then we used that pose in WebXR to transform and place our AR scene. So that's how it works. And this is how we built an entire AR editing platform with just our APIs. Here you will see that you don't need much, and this is the true meaning of headless, that this gives you all the control and every single tool that is necessary for you to build a spatial backend and a spatial platform. So now finally, as we are at the end of this video, I'm going to leave you with 3 resources which are going to be a lot of use for you as you are building your own spatial backend. So first is the multiset status page, which is at status.multiset.ai. So here you can come and see every single time how our services are up or not, and if something is a problem, please get in touch with us. We are always available. We are always connected on Discord and then a lot of different places. So make sure you text us and reach out to us. We also have our NPM package, which is what we used. It's called MultiSet AI/VPS. So make sure you check out. And then we also have our REST API docs. So these are all the 3 things that you will need to build your own spatial backend and make it completely headless. If you have any other questions, please join our Discord and drop any questions there. Please follow. We have a great community that is always helpful, that is always looking out for other developers. And there's like a lot of developers who are building really cool stuff. And thank you for staying along with this video. All of these links and the GitHub link for this particular platform project is going to be in the description. So make sure you check out. If you have any other questions or any other things, please comment and we will get back to you as quickly as possible. Thank you. Have a good day.